Today I'm going to show you how I successfully install a shade canopy that will last for years to come. This is where the shade canopy will be installed. One of the nice things about canopies is they can be installed practically anywhere. They provide a lot of benefits, blocking harmful UV rays and also keeping areas cool. I'd like to cast some shade over my vehicle, but these are also perfect for your outdoor entertainment space. To ensure maximum strength, I'm going to use concrete for the base. I have some old lumber here which I'm going to use to make the forms. As I begin, here's a little message from today's sponsor. Videos takes a lot of work and effort to create, so I want to thank Groundworks for sponsoring this video. If you notice uneven or sunken concrete slab on your walkways, driveways, or patios, or if cracks are appearing and water is pooling where it shouldn't, these are common signs that your concrete is settling or damaged. This creates safety hazards and increases the risk of costly repairs. The causes often stems from issues beneath the surface, soil settling over time, erosion from water runoffs, poor soil compaction during construction, or even tree roots pushing up and cracking the concrete. Groundwork uses innovative solutions like polyurethane foam injection. This minimally invasive method quickly and durably lifts the sunken slab back into place, allowing you to use the area immediately after repair. So if you see some of these signs and not sure what to do next, you can get a free inspection from Groundworks. At no cost, they will check to spot any concrete issues early. They are the experts, with certified technicians to ensure accurate diagnosis and fixes. Early repairs can prevent costly damage and enhance home safety and appearance. Check out my link in the video description to learn more. So now that I have all of my lumber cut, I'm going to go ahead and join the parts. I am using 2x8 lumber to build the forms. If you take a close look, you can see some of these look aged. They've been sitting outside for quite some time, and some of them have some warps to it. So I need some additional assistance to tighten these things and get them as straight as possible. As shown here, I'm using a clamp to pry the bottom out as I drive a screw in. These parts were not as bad. Using a single clamp like this did the trick. I made a total of 3 forms, which made sense for this setup. I couldn't figure out everything I needed beforehand, so I was playing it by ear during the project. I set the forms in the location that I thought a pole should go. With the little details I had, I needed to see the actual size of this canopy. Canopies come in different shapes and size. I'm going with a rectangle, and one corner will be attached to the house. Once the shade was open, I then took some measurement of the material and then the area. The first thing I'm going to do here is commit to a starting location. I dug up the area and planted the concrete form. Then I dug out the middle so I can dig down. Initially, I was going to go with 6x6 pressure treated lumber. I was unable to locate 6x6 lumber with 16-foot length. 12-foot 6x6 was available, but if I buried a third of that, that would put me around 8 feet high. I need the canopy to be at least 10 feet high. So I decided to go with fabricated poles. I'll touch more on those later. I had a few different specs for the base, but the one I decided to go with was 2 feet by 2 feet by 36 inch deep. That's a lot of concrete, but I want this to be a successful install. Things can be pretty deceiving due to the current grading. This area is much higher than the other locations. At some point, more dirt will be added to lift the grade. And I know I want the concrete base to sit much higher than what we currently see. I'll be using a laser level to go around and set the height. I drove a steel tube into the ground next to each frame. Wooden stakes could be used for this as well. Then I add a piece of masking tape to each stake. Then I use the laser level to set the height. And once I have the height set for the first location, I go to each location and leave a mark. For all the viewers that may not be familiar with what I'm doing, I'll try to explain quickly so you don't feel left out. The tripod has a laser level on it, and I have a telescoping rod in my hand with a receiver on it. The receiver can see the laser line in broad daylight. When the receiver identifies the line, it beeps. For example, you would set this up at location 1 and use the bottom of the rod as your reference. Then you'll go to the second location while making sure the receiver has full line of sight to the laser. You will adjust the rod up and down, and when you hear the beep, you would transfer the bottom of the rod to your stake. There are other workarounds to get similar outcome, but this is the quickest. Once I have the height for each location determined, I will pull out a string from one point to the other. The string will tell me the height to set the concrete form, and I'll use my level to keep the form leveled at that height. The rain cut my progress short, so I had to pack it up. I'm back the next morning and I'm hoping to make some progress. The lines are going to be much higher than I was hoping for, so I made another frame to stack it on top of the first frame. Before I pour the concrete, I want to make sure I have the metal frame set up. This must be assembled and planted into the concrete. This is the base plate for the poles, which will be lined up to the threaded rods on this frame. This kit also comes with large concrete anchors if you don't want to use this. At this point, I'm racing to get the concrete poured. I anticipate it should be raining soon. I floated the top of the concrete, then I took the hardware and worked it down into the concrete, leaving the rods sticking up. It started to sprinkle, but I wasn't sure if it's going to rain, so I covered up the concrete. I made my way over to the second location, then I proceeded to pour the concrete. Going back to the first pour, after some time I rounded the corners and finished the top. I covered the concrete to protect it from the rain. And the following day I removed the form. I'm actually going to reuse this to finish up the third pad. Now this area was way down, so I needed to build it up, and it's going to take a little more work than the other two areas. So I'm going to now focus on that, but I did need this piece here so I can stack it on here and properly set this up. So based on what I have going on here, the rain sort of washed this away. So I'm just going to redo all of this, get it set up properly, and go ahead and get the thing poured. That took some extra effort, but I'm now back on track to get this concrete poured. I'm enjoying a proud dad moment. My daughter wanted to help, so hand her the tool and she went to work. At this point, I lost count of how many times I had to stop due to rain. The entire setup I have for the Shade Canopy installation is from a brand called Color Tree. I will post their link in the video description. As a person that wants minimal maintenance, the metal poles was a better option for me. This setup here equates to a 12-foot pole. This is the top section. If you notice, the top is capped off. The parts are threaded so you can quickly screw them together. The poles are just over 3 inches in diameter. Before setting the base of the pole, I clean off the threads. And of course, this step could have been avoided if I was to wrap the threads with masking tape. Well, you would do that before putting them in the concrete. Finally, we're on to the fun part. For convenience, it's probably best to put the clamp and D-ring on before mounting the pole. This is a pretty large shade. The size I'm using here is 22 feet by 24 feet. This is a product from Color Tree, which I'll link down in the description. Each corner is equipped with these nice super rings. It's UV rated and the material looks to be tough and durable. This is the moment of truth. Time to install. I connected the far 2 corners and attempted to connect the third. That one became a struggle. I tried it again, but this time I went to the opposite pole. And I had better luck. I needed to figure out how I was going to attach this to the house. Instead of regrouping on this idea, I decided to temporarily mount a piece of wood to the fence which I could use to connect the 4th corner of the canopy. Once I'm able to see it, I can then figure out where to mount the cable on the house. It was starting to get dark for my liking, so I'll leave it here for the night. The next day I drilled a few holes in the wall and installed the accessory. And even though I connected to this first spot, I eventually switched to another location, which is where I finally settled. I thought that this setup was better than the first. In the end, I'm not mad at it. I think it came out pretty good. Now all I need to do is go around and tweak all of the corners, like tightening up the tension, lifting or lowering the corners of the shade. There is one thing I didn't install which I will get to at some point later. The more tension applied to the pole could result in the pole bowing towards the inside. The poles came with the hardware I have shown here. They provide added support and tension for stabilization. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. There are many names for these, whether it's canopy, shade sails, outdoor awning, whatever you choose to call these things, they're incredibly useful for outdoor experiences. This was specifically installed to block that harsh sun. It feels like the sun is getting harsher and harsher by the years. I don't remember it being this hot when I was a child. This will make a great parking spot to protect vehicles from that harsh sun and its harmful UV rays. I can also see this as a nice spot to do some outdoor projects. This is my vision for my project, but you may want to do something similar for your outdoor entertainment space.